Okay, welcome everyone to Sada Pay's 7th Rising FinTech webinar. I cannot believe that we're already on the 7th episode. It feels like time has gone by really quickly. So what we usually do in this series is that we kind of discuss different topics from the banking, digital, and FinTech space. And in today's episode, we'll be talking about pursuing a successful freelancing career. And we're very lucky that we have two successful freelance veterans with us today who can kind of give us their insights and tips and tricks about their journeys and freelancing in general. So maybe you guys can introduce yourselves a little bit, tell us about your careers, your backgrounds. Manu, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Amira. So I started freelancing 7 years ago when I was 16 years old, and it was pretty much an unknown concept here in Pakistan. I feel like a lot of times people will ask me, how did you start when you were only 16? So I'm not going to go much into details of that, but long story short, I was 16. I really wanted a dress that I liked. It only costed 1,600 rupees. I asked my dad to get it for me. He said, he had paid a lot of bills that month. So he said, for whatever reason, I can't get it for you this month. So I'll get it for you next month. And me being the stubborn child that I was, I said, no, I want it this month and I want it right now. And he said, it was a father-daughter argument, and the conclusion was he wasn't getting it for me. So I was really enraged and infuriated. So I went on my laptop and I opened it up, and I had absolutely no clue what this was. All I had seen was in Bindi those banners that said 8,000 रुपए कमाइए एक महीने में, and I was like, there must be something to it. So I go on laptop and I'm very angry. So I'm not making any sense. I go on Google and I write money online because I need money online. And I type that up, and there's like a few freelancing websites that turn up. And at that time it was Odesk and Elance, which later merged to form UpWork. So I went on those websites believing that I wasn't going to make any money out of it, but I said, okay, whatever. So I set up profiles on those websites. I lied about myself because I thought no one's going to take a 16-year-old seriously. So I said, you know what, I'm a teacher and I like tons of experience. And I felt like writing was something that I could do. So I said, I'll do writing. And I did not know if it was going to work. I did not know if it was legitimate. So there were a few writing jobs, and I just started. I did not see what it was for, what they wanted. I just started applying one by one to all the jobs that I could, and then to my luck, one lady responded. Because here's the stupid thing that I did. She said it was an $80 job, and I said I'll do it for $10 because that's all I need to buy the dress. So she said, okay, are you really gonna do it? And I said, hell yes, I'll do it. Bring it on. So she said, okay, you don't have any experience. I'll give you one article. If it goes well, I'll give you the rest as well. So she sent me one. I worked on it, sent it back to her, and she really liked it. So she said, you know what? I'll pay you the whole amount. And so I was 16. That was my first earning. It was $80, and I was flying. And again, my family was like, you're not going to get that money. And I was like, I know, but I got to try. So I set up that bank account. You need to have a bank account in the same name as your UpWork account. I didn't have a bank account because I was obviously 16. So I asked my dad to open up one of those kids' bank account that has like a daily withdrawal limit of only 2,000 rupees. He set it up, and then one day I'm just chilling at home and I get a call on the landline, and I go pick it up. And my dad's like, someone sent 8,000 rupees to your account. And for me, that was where I started from. And then from that point onwards, I did a lot of writing. I progressed. I started writing ebooks. Then I was a virtual assistant for some time. And then I found a long-term client who trained me. I was their HR manager. Then I was a project manager. Then I did customer service. Then I was a customer service executive with another Canadian-based client. And that's how my 7 years have been till now.
Wow, that's a great story. I really hope that you still have that dress. I think it's like,
I do.
Oh yes, I was about to say the same. That dress should be framed up and
I
kept
know,
as a yeah kept as a relic.
right?
So Haroon, what about you? You can tell us a bit about Happy Cloud, and I love your title, by the way, Chief
Thank
Happiness
you.
Officer.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, in terms of starting my professional career, it happened during my A levels. I was 16 as well, and so for my A levels project, I decided to make something that would actually be deployed on a live. With a live business rather than just a theoretical project, because to me getting the grade wasn't as important as building something that gets used by an actual client. So I went to some local businesses, bookstores and all, and asked them if they needed help. This was back in 2000, year 2000. And so this one local bookstore in Islamabad, they decided to sort of give me a shot, and I wasn't expecting to actually get paid for it. I was like, they'd be doing me a favor by letting me build something for their business. That was what I thought, because hey, I'm just a 16-year-old kid who has zero experience. So if a legit business lets me build a solution for them, it's a favor from them. But when they asked me that how much am I going to charge for it, for their bookstore management system, I was like, wow, I'm getting paid. And so I quoted 10,000, and they knew better than to sort of bargain on something like that. So back then, 10,000 rupees was a big deal for me. But like for the business, even back then, such a system would cost hundreds of thousands. So they were getting a major bargain. So I built it. It's not one of my most proud works in terms of the quality, of course, because it was abysmal, but it got the job done. The UX was like, there was no concept of UX back then. In fact, I don't know if the term user experience in reference to computers and IT was even coined or in major use back then. So that was the start. Then I went on to, I had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit from the very start. So I dropped out of university in 2003 to come to Karachi from Islamabad and get into event management, because I had visited a friend in Karachi and he used to do that and it appealed me. So I moved at the age of 20 to a different city, started that. Then I had to move back because of some family matters. Then got into retail business, set up a mobile phones import and under my own warranty called TalkSmart. And then I just discovered that sitting behind a counter, dealing in retail, or even dealing wholesale with other businesses is just not my thing. It wasn't intellectually stimulating, if you will. So I shut that off and I started teaching at a college where I used to study. And while teaching there and studying there, I started doing some writing gigs online when the opportunity came up. Someone connected me with someone who was looking for people who could write good English. And before I knew it, I was getting way more work than I could handle. So I dropped out of university. I set up my own little content studio called Big Bang Studios, hired like a dozen writers within the first month, and was pumping out content for like the next year or so, till I got a job offer from a major technology publication with millions of monthly page views as an editor. So I joined them and then worked for some other major publications in the tech sector, at times as a writer, editor, content strategist. Then I sort of, throughout all of this, my interest in web development remained. And I felt like I missed doing the creative development work. So while I was working for a US-based publication as their content strategist, we needed to frequently collaborate with their third-party development agency for some plugins and for some customizations that we needed for the platform. In fact, I used to come up with some of those ideas myself. I needed this feature here, that feature there. So I used to collaborate with them, and they ended up discovering that I can do good technology project management. So they knew I was a freelancer with that publication. So they offered me to manage a few of their client projects getting the work done by their development teams and their design teams as a freelancer, because they had way more work coming in than they could handle, and they had their development staff, their design staff, but not enough project managers. So I did some gigs for them. We built some sites for Fortune 500 companies with them as well. Although I couldn't put them on my portfolio because that wasn't essentially my work. I was offering my services to the organization who had the rights to display that work on their portfolio. So that was the reason I left that very cushy relationship with them and decided to go full on freelance again, doing work under my own brand of HQ Raja. Did that for a couple of years, and then during that I got more and more into server management and technology, cloud infrastructure optimization, because some of the big clients, for them, we needed to optimize their servers rather than just building the site. We needed to really optimize the backend that was serving the sites to serve as much traffic as possible. So that's how I got into all of that. And before I knew it, I had the idea of Happy Cloud, which was a fully managed, end-to-end, fully managed cloud hosting service targeted at businesses rather than consumers, rather than end users. So where we take ownership of the entire technical infrastructure, platform, and the website itself, even DNS, everything, we manage it so that the clients can focus on running their business rather than worrying about scaling their site or development issues and this and that. So that's how Happy Cloud was born. It's been like a year and a half. We're still in private launch stage, invite-only clients, and we're doing well through referrals. And we're hoping to do a public launch by the end of 2020 or in early 2021. So that's the backstory.
That's so cool. I think that's amazing how, I think with freelancing, it gives you this type of like independence, and I think the confidence to eventually want to do your own thing and, have your own startup, start your own business. And it's just incredible how you can go from one thing and then do so many other things and then end up, starting thing. That's incredible. And, for you, well, Mahnoor, I think you're more on the content writing side, but for you, Haroon, I think, when you delved in, like you've done web design and content writing, and there's so much within the freelancing space that you can do. Like, I wasn't even aware until a few months ago how much there is, like there's so many different categories, so many different sections and things that you can specialize in. So when you guys are starting out, or for anyone who, like is maybe beginning or looking to specialize in one niche, how was it for you guys trying to find that one thing that you wanted to specialize in and decide that this is what I'm going to do? Lonnie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like when it comes to finding your niche, you've got to evaluate what you like doing, what your passions and skills are, because you could maybe start with something that could be making you money, but you got to evaluate if you see yourself doing that 5 years or 10 years down the road, right? So you and sometimes I feel like with freelancers, there's so much pressure when they're starting out. You know what your niche is, know what you're gonna do. It's okay not to know what you're gonna do when you're starting off, and it's okay to sort of explore things and maybe fail sometimes, or do something that you eventually end up not liking. But the main thing is you have got to like what you do. So for me, I used to write poems and I used to partake in debate competitions and speech competitions. So I knew that this was something that I liked doing. And that is why when I ventured into it, I still, 7 years down, I've done so much other stuff, but I still enjoy writing. I still like to write. So I feel like, just explore what you're passionate about and what you like doing. And then also you've got to be a bit realistic. You've got to see if there's a market for it. You got to see if people are willing to pay for what you do or what you like doing. So if it's something it's sort of obsolete now, but you like doing it, nobody's going to pay you for it, to be real. So you've got to see if there's a market for it, and then narrow it down further. Along the road, narrow it down. So for example, if you like writing, then you narrow it down, because even within writing, there's so many domains. You want to be a copywriter, you want to do ghostwriting, you want to do creative writing, there's blog writing, you want to write ebooks. I could go on and on. There's technical writing, there's report writing. And then if you even want to narrow it further down, do you want to be a science fiction freelance writer, you want to be a beauty writer. There's so much, but don't pressurize yourself to find that specific niche the day you're starting out, because you're then putting so much pressure on yourself, and you might not even end up finding what you really like doing, because because in the back of your head you're constantly thinking, what's my niche, what am I supposed to do? Don't do that. Start off, I've written so many sort of articles, it's crazy. Like, I've written some really technical stuff, and then I've written about baby cots. So it's you do that. You need to do that in order to find out what you're gonna end up doing, 5 years down the road or whatever. And then also, another thing specifically for Pakistani freelancers, you do not necessarily need to do work that relates to whatever educational degree or career, whatever education you're pursuing. So for example, I did my bachelor's in business administration, but at the same time I was working on setting up Shopify stores. So that had nothing to do with my degree, but I was doing it regardless. Because also in Pakistan, a lot of times students are not able to study what they want to because of pressure from parents or society. So I feel like with freelancing, then that's kind of your outlet. So if you're a business student but you're into designing, learn about graphic designing, learn Photoshop or whatever it is, and then do that. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with what you're studying. And then also that it's okay to fail. It's okay if you think something's your niche, but then it turns out you are not that good at it, or that it's not making you money. It's okay to move on from that. There's no point in sticking to it just because one day you decided that this is going to be my niche. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
I think that's such good advice, especially that you don't need to kind of have it figured out in the beginning. Exactly. Your interests also change over time the more you are delve into these categories, and the more you do these different jobs. But Haroon, for you, how was it trying to figure out what exactly it is that you wanted to do? Because you've done websites.
It took me around a couple of decades in the industry. And to be honest, I still like to experiment with bits of this and that I haven't yet done. But in terms of my focus, it has been primarily web-related, like web technology, and then cloud infrastructure, because that's also highly relevant to web technology, and content. So one of the USPs that I bring to my clients, as a matter of fact, as opposed to my competitors, is I've got a lot of competitors who are way more talented than me in terms of cloud technology. I've got competitors who are way more talented than me in just building a site, web development itself. I've got competitors who are better at me than copywriting, than design. But I bring to the table a holistic approach covering all of these and synergizing them together to build a solution for the clients, so that the clients don't have to worry about all the nuances of every single of these subdomains that they might not have a clue about. A real estate agent who's my client from the Midwest in the US, she doesn't really want to be the one deciding the design, because she's in no position to decide the design. She's in no position to decide what should the tone of the copy be. She just sells houses. She sells buildings. That's what she's good at. So she needs to hire someone who she could delegate the entire stack of her site to. And that's what I bring to the table. And that's where my experience diversifying myself rather than specializing. I've sort of specialized within a limited scope, but it's not like I'm a hardcore cloud specialist. I don't need to be. I can hire a hardcore cloud specialist as a consultant when the project needs it. So for me, that has worked great. But at the same time, this approach in today's world might not generally work out for everyone, at least not in the short run, because to be successful as a generalist, to be successful as someone who can take care of the whole shebang, you have to have plenty of experience working in every particular niche that you're covering, which you just can't afford to have at the very start. So yes, focus at one niche at a time. Like I focused at one niche at a time. When I was focusing on writing, That was my primary focus. I was running a content studio. When I was focusing on building sites, I was just churning out sites. When I was focusing on design, actually, I've been focusing on design while doing whatever else I was doing, because design has been a bit of a passion, a personal passion as well. When you have an eye for aesthetics, whatever you do, you want to make it well designed. So in that regard, design has been a partner in the journey throughout. So yes, focus is important, but as Mahnoor said, don't limit yourself. Experiment till you find what really works for you. And hey, what works for you now may not be something that you want to do 3 years later, and that's fine. We're living in a world of opportunities, and things are evolving at such a fast pace that you can upskill. But yes, never forget to upskill. Always keep on upskilling, and also side skilling. Upskill would be learning more skills in your niche. Side skilling would essentially be learning other skills that are adjacent to your niche. First and foremost, adjacent to your niche. And that way you can bring way more value to your clients, and they're going to be really happy that they don't have to worry about so many things because they can delegate them to you. Also, on this note, presenting yourself not as just a developer or a writer, but a solutions architect, a solution provider to your clients. That also helps. That builds a higher level. But that's, I think, a topic for one of the subsequent questions. So let me not digress too much into it right now.
Yeah, no, but I agree with you, and I think that actually on that topic of like how you present yourself and present yourself as someone who can bring solutions to the table. For you guys, was it difficult in the beginning to get your first few gigs as freelancers? You're just starting out, the competition, I'm sure, will now versus when you guys are starting out, it's a lot more. But even then, you're not really a lot of reviews in the beginning. So how do you kind of go with that and trying to figure out how to get your first projects? Mahnoor, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So the advice that I'm going to give, I know I'm sort of going to get into it, but if you need to score your first project, here's how the UpWork algorithm works, right? So if someone posts a job, on average, there's going to be 50 to 100, maybe 200 proposals for that job. And if you do not have any experience on your profile, you haven't worked a job, UpWork algorithm is automatically going to push down your application for the job to the bottom of the list. So you definitely, in the beginning, you need to do something that makes you stand out. And sometimes that means bidding a bit lower than the actual price for the project. I'm not saying that you should undersell yourself or your services, but I'm saying that to get there, you need to, maybe 10% lower or something like that, because to get that first job, you need to make a bit of a compromise. If not that, then offer some sort of incentive. For example, you could say, I'll do this writing job, but then I'll also proofread 500 words for you for free. So you offer an incentive just to get that first job, because getting those first few jobs is important. It builds your profile, and you need to have positive 5-star, 4-star, whatever reviews on your profile if you need to score more jobs in the future. And then again, to get more jobs, you need to build your profile. And when I say build your profile, I do not mean go on a test taking spelling tests and readiness tests, and I can do this test and I can do that test. That's not going to build your profile, because the answers for those tests can be found just through one Google search. What I mean when I say build your profile, if you're a graphic designer, you got a portfolio, put it up on your profile. Show whatever work you've done. If you're a writer and some of your work has been published anywhere under your name, put those links on your profile. You basically need to brand yourself, create a brand for yourself. And that's important to get those first few gigs. And then one more important thing that I really need to emphasize on, and that especially applies if you're working on UpWork, is your cover letter. So what most of us will do is write one cover letter and then we'll copy and paste it to every single job that we apply to. And as a hiring manager, you always have an eye for it. And you can tell when a cover letter has been curated specifically for a job, as opposed to when it's just a cover letter that's been going around. And sometimes you'll see the same cover letter from 2 or 3 different people. Trust me, I've been on the hiring end, so I know this. So when you see a job posting, I know it's going to take a bit of a time and a bit of an effort, but just add some specifics to your cover letter related to that job. Tell them why you think you're a good fit for that job, or tell the client how you could get that job done, what give them a time estimate or a cost estimate, but make it seem like you have gone through the actual job posting. And to test that, a lot of times what some of these clients will do on Upwork is they will put up a long post on Upwork, right? They'll say, I need to get this and this and this and this done. And at the end they'll say, write mango at the start of your proposal or your cover letter so I know that you've read it. And then, so if you're getting 100 job applications, any cover letter that doesn't have mango in front of it, they'll just discard it immediately, because they know that the person didn't even bother to read the entire job posting. How are they going to bother to actually perform at the job? So I feel like please be thorough and read the job posting, and only apply for it if you actually think you can do it, and then curate and customize a cover letter that sort of conveys to the hiring manager that you can actually do this job, or what skill set you have that matches with this job. And I feel like if you do all of these things, you'll be able to get your first job. But then also please be patient. Just because you are seeing this webinar today and you make a profile tomorrow, there's not a lot of chances that you're just going to get a job tomorrow. So be patient and keep applying, and hopefully you'll get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Haroon? Any advice, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes. So if you're gonna freelance on one of the major freelancing platforms out there, first thing first, when you start off, keep very realistic expectations on how soon you may get a job. That's important, because many just give up because they go in with high expectations. Someone tells them that they can utilize their skill set to freelance and to start working online. They go register an account on Upwork or Freelancer or any of these sites, and they apply to a couple of jobs, maybe 5 jobs, 10 jobs. If they're really determined, most people apply max like maybe a couple dozen jobs within their first few days, and then they become disheartened that it's not working. We just don't get response. In fact, most people, when they approach me on this subject, they're like, we keep on applying and we never get a response. So don't give up. In fact, that's an opportunity for you. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough, because these platforms have become so competitive that landing a gig is not easy for a first timer with no reviews. But yes, you can hack your way around it by improving your chance compared to others who also have no gigs there yet. So first things first, build a portfolio. As Mahnoor mentioned, that is one of the most important things for your profile. They don't care about your degree. They don't care about how many organizations you've worked with. They only care about what you've built, what you've written, what you've created. That speaks for itself. So if you don't already have paid work, do some free work, not for clients, but just decide to do sort of, how do you call it, mock-ups for pretty much any use case that you can think of. Think of an imaginary organization, build something for it, pick your favorite organization, do one of those concept pieces for them, the way people can come up with concept UI design for iPhone, for iOS 13 before even iOS 12 is out, the way people come up with next generation font designs as concepts. And none of them get built, but they get added to their portfolios, and increases their chances of landing a job with those companies building such products, because they've proven that they have the skill set to build something, to design something for that platform. So yeah, do that. Or if there are friends and family who own a business and you think you can help them out, build something for them, write something for them, create something for them. Try your best to get paid, but hey, at times you got to do what you got to do. So don't make it a habit of working for free, but for portfolio pieces, as someone who's just starting off, it's okay to do some work for free if no paid work is coming along, so that you actually have some work to show that will help you land paid work. But apart from that, also never limit yourself to these platforms. To be honest, I have never landed a single gig on any freelancing platforms. Never.
Really?
The way I started, I got my initial project through just my hustle of visiting local businesses, and I got it. But then that didn't really get me many referrals. Most referrals I got back then was by someone I ran into socially somewhere. I just made friends with a guy while on the go somewhere. I don't remember was it if it was in the bus or public transport or something like that. And the next thing I knew, I was working with that guy on my next 10 or 12 projects that I got through him. So build a network and build genuine relationships, not relationships just for the sake of getting projects. Your aim should be to build a network of quality people around you, where they're there for you and you're there for them. And any work that comes because of that is a benefit. When you aim for something good, good things come to you. So yes, build a network around you. Pretty much all of my work, all of my current projects, they've come through direct referrals of people from my network, or referrals from clients who were themselves referred to me from one person or the other in my network. I haven't really gotten a single project by someone visiting my website and filling out the contact form and then getting converted. I don't run any ads. All of Happy Cloud's clients are also referrals. So yes, your network is your net worth. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, and especially like what you guys both said about trying to be patient in the beginning, because it can take so long to get your first gig, and I think that's one really big obstacle that freelancers have to face when they're starting out. But for you guys, yeah,
sorry, there was one important thing I wanted to add. Pardon for the interruption. Facebook groups, an amazing source for getting connected with people looking for work. So join relevant Facebook groups for your niche, and you'll see people asking for freelancers or for people to do one thing or the other for them all the time. And at times, people might just not be asking for people to work for them. People might be asking, someone might be posting a question about having a problem with a particular plugin. And you then don't advertise your services to them in a way that, oh, I'm going to solve it for you, hire me. No, you solve that problem for them by providing a helpful comment. And then if they need more, they get in touch with you because you've helped them. They get in touch with you because they see you as an authority. They see you as someone helpful. They get in touch with you and ask you if you're going to help them with something more complicated than what they can handle by themselves. So be helpful and build an authority around yourself. The more helpful you are to people in a niche, the more of an industry authority will be seen in that niche. And then strangers would be referring you to others because they see you as someone who knows their shit.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Facebook groups, especially some of the freelancing ones are so huge. I would even go as far as to say they might begin to rival like platforms like UpWork and Fiverr. People find so much work there. But so what are some obstacles that you guys think people in general, and you like with your own experiences, have had to face during your freelancing careers? I guess things like, like not even being taken, I mean, maybe less so now since it's so commonplace, but not being taken seriously maybe in the beginning by friends and family, having it not seen as kind of a proper career. But yeah, so I mean, what are some obstacles that you guys have had to face? Manu, do you want to go first?
Okay, so I'll start with the most obvious one that I have faced myself, and that was I got cheated by clients, and that was my own mistake, and that is why I want people to learn from my own mistakes, because I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't go and check if this client is verified, if they've paid people in the past. And this one person asked me to write, this was back when I was in 12th grade, and this one person asked me to write 60 articles of 1,000 words each, and I wrote them all for him, and he never paid me, and he literally disappeared. And And I feel like that was a learning lesson for me. And so now I always make sure, if you know, on Upwork, even if you go there, you'll see if it'll show you if the person, the client who posted the job, if they're verified, if their payment method is verified, if they have any reviews from previous freelancers that they've hired. So do your homework and see that the person that you're about to work for, if they're legit, because even Upwork, they will tell you if it's a fixed price job and this person has no, if it's an hourly job, it comes under Upwork protection. But if it's a fixed price job, they will tell you themselves to sort of, you know, sign this disclaimer that you're going into this with your own will, and if the client doesn't end up paying you, Upwork is not going to intervene on your behalf or support your case. The second obstacle, like you mentioned, yes, people not taking us seriously. So like I told you before this webinar started, I've never worked an actual office job in the 7 years that I've been working. But even then, you know, when I was starting, people that I knew, if I told them, you know, I'm a writer, अच्छा, लेकिन असल में क्या करती हो? मतलब असल में भी यही करती हूँ. So that's the thing. But I feel like those sort of things, don't let them put you down. Don't think that because people are going to say this and that, don't let that become an obstacle for you, because being a freelancer, you're definitely going to have your fair share of obstacles. You could be jobless for a long amount of time. You could make $5,000 one month, and the next month you could have $0, or you could have a negative cash flow. That it's part of the deal. It's part of the package. You have to make your peace with it. And then also, payments, definitely for freelancers, it can be frustrating getting payments late, you know, later from the promised date. And then also, sometimes you don't get payments at all. And then also, it's sometimes a hassle. Now it's much better because we have a lot of options. But back when I started, it was a hassle getting my payment transferred to my actual bank account here in Pakistan. So that was a hassle as well. And then again, there's the common obstacles, communication issues. If the client, sometimes a client is not used to hiring a freelancer, so what they will do is they will automatically assume that you know everything, because they're so used to the typical office job. They will assume that you know everything that you're supposed to do, even though you're sitting 1,000 miles away. And they will, so the communication gap becomes really frustrating for both the client and the freelancer, but more so for the freelancer, because you're kind of clueless about what you're supposed to do. And then again, and then one obstacle that I feel like Haroon mentioned as well, that we as freelancers put up for ourselves are those high expectations. So like I said, with no offense to anyone, some people who are watching this webinar today, they will make a freelancing account, an account on any freelancing platform today, and expect कि कल उनके बैंक account में 1 लाख रुपया होगा. But that is not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked. It's not gonna happen. I wish it did, even for me, but it doesn't work that way. So the obstacles that you create for yourself, at least get rid of those first, and then the other ones that come along your way, you'll just learn to deal with them with time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even think about the fact that, like, you know, a lot of people, like you guys especially, you know, you started so young, and then you do have to be very diligent to check that you're not gonna kind of get scammed. And, you know, in the beginning, you're probably just kind of going in on your own. No one's really guiding you. It's a very new thing. But yeah, Haroon, what are some things that like you faced, or some obstacles that you think people come across during freelancing?
So I've been fortunate enough in my freelancing career to never get cheated. But maybe that's because in my early business ventures, I did get cheated by 2 of my partners in my first 2 business ventures. So I was after वो जो कहते हैं दूध का जला जो है वो छाछ भी फूंक फूंक के पीता है. So वो मुझे 1-2 मेजर ऐसे experiences हुए थे business losses के, where my partners embezzled essentially millions of my own self-made hard-earned money. जिसकी वजह से I was very very particular about this के काम नहीं मिलता ना मिले, लेकिन जो मिलेगा वो उसमें payment terms मेरी होंगी, client की नहीं होंगी. Even if it's a big organization, in fact, especially if it's a big organization, because वो ज़्यादा ख्वार करते हैं आपको at times. वो एक छोटे से पेमेंट के लिए आपको अगले 6 महीने उनके चक्कर लगाने पड़ सकते हैं. So especially if you're freelancing for local businesses where you're meeting them in a physical capacity, तो तब तो यस और भी ज़्यादा इसमें आपको डिलिजेंट होने की ज़रूरत है, बिकॉज अनफॉर्चुनेटली जितने स्कैमर्स यहाँ आपको मिलेंगे उतने इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे शायद नहीं मिलेंगे. It's an unfortunate reality. लेकिन मेरा जो मेजर चैलेंज था वो पेमेंट प्लेटफॉर्म्स का की बेसिकली शॉर्ट कमिंग्स थी, बिकॉज I wasn't doing business through a platform like UpWork or Freelancer. I was doing for most of my freelancing career, I was doing business as an individual consultant. So उसमें at times ऐसे referrals के through potential projects आते थे जो इतने high value project नहीं होते थे कि उसमें wire transfer वाले सिलसिले में client would want to go through it, because if it's a project where they need to transfer thousands of dollars every month, then they're okay with doing a wire transfer. But if it's something like an $80 gig, उसके लिए वो international wire transfer की $25 फीस क्यों देंगे? And apart from wire transfers, back in the day, Western Union से transfer उनकी site के through नहीं हुआ करती थी, direct Western Union के office जाके भेजने पड़ते थे clients को. I'm talking about early to mid 2000s. And even till late 2000s, Western Union ka online portal wasn't available everywhere, and some were comfortable working on it, some were not. So Western Union के office जाके भी किसी client का भेजने को ऐसे जी नहीं जाता. And then PayPal का यहाँ पे चूँकि कभी available थी नहीं, इस वजह से there were many clients who just refused to utilize anything other than PayPal. And then eventually more and more clients started trusting these credit card providers. So usme bhi, lekin unless they trust you, they don't want a credit card transaction happening on your platform. So ye issues the. But mera wo stage aa gaya tha alhamdulillah jab I was getting wires from a lot of my clients, lekin kahin aise projects jo that could have started small and then turned into major gigs. They just didn't happen because initially the client wanted to pay only through PayPal or through a credit card based payment gateway, and I didn't have access to either. So कुछ clients के साथ फिर मुझे मजबूरन Upwork या freelancer जैसे platforms use करने पड़े. I've earned money through these platforms, but only in situations where a client was referred externally and they wanted to pay through a platform that they trusted. उसमें ये इशू होता था कि Upwork पे जिस तरह up to 20% for the first $500 with any client, not just your overall earnings, with any client, you pay 20% to Upwork as just the Upwork fee. On top of that, they charge you for any conversion fee if you withdraw your money through their direct PKR transfer service, or if you send a USD wire to your bank, then your bank is going to give you a very poor conversion rate, and that's going to affect it as well. So वो इशू था, like up to 25% तो easily आपको transaction charges में Upwork charges में देने पड़ते थे. And मैं client लेके आया हूँ, मुझे referral के through मिला है, Upwork के through मैंने वो client win नहीं किया. Why do I pay Upwork a fee for it just because of utilizing their platform? उसके अलावा yes, after their first $500, then up to their $10,000 of billing with every client, it's 10%, and then once you cross $10,000 with a client, then it's 5%. So up agar even if you're using a credit card payment gateway like ToCheckout, uspe I think 5% plus a flat fee hai, which is like pretty high in terms of industry standards. PayPal and Stripe, they offer some of the best generally transaction rates. So I eventually had to, well, एक तो अपनी कंपनी मैंने इनकॉर्पोरेट करनी ही थी eventually. So मैंने पहले पाकिस्तान में कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट की थी, but यहाँ के local payment gateway providers जो banks हैं, the banks are offering an extremely dismal experience. It's like even if they talk to you about the payment gateway service, their payment gateway services, it's like they're doing you a favor by talking to you about it, because otherwise you're going to probably wait for 6 months to hear from them. Unless you're already a business doing millions in transactions. Secondly, they quote you exorbitant fees for their initial payment gateway integration because they don't have pre-built integrations for platforms like Woocommerce, Magento, apparently, that they can just deploy for every customer, or they do have them, but they want to charge you millions for just deploying the integration for you. And then there's so much paperwork involved, there's so much onboarding friction involved, that any sane person who likes to live in 2020 or live in the financially civilized world rather than the financial stone age just wouldn't want to bother through all of their ancient procedures.
Yeah.
And then when services like Jazz Cash and Telenor EasyPay came out, it seemed like they're going to be a breath of fresh air. But my God, were they absolute disappointments like conventional banks? Because pretty much just the same issues. So there's been no single payment gateway with frictionless ease of onboarding for a new business. Freelancer के लिए तो है ही नहीं ना सिरे से. Businesses के लिए once you incorporate, then easy onboarding की कोई option नहीं है. So I had to eventually incorporate in America through Stripe Atlas to get my payment woes sorted. And यहाँ अभी भी यही situation है.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can imagine very, very difficult for anyone starting off in freelancing, and for you guys having to face all of this. And I think we're going to try and get the next couple of points a little bit quickly so that we can also get some questions from the audience. So when you guys were starting off, what were some non-technical skills that you thought actually helped you? Maybe you had to develop them, maybe you already had them, that you thought helped kind of accelerate your own growth within the freelancing space?
So for me, it had to be, I think, the number one if you're a freelancer, communication skills go a long, long way, and you actually need to work on your communication skills, because that is the only thing that you are relying on while talking to someone that you're supposed to work for, who is staying 1,000 miles away from you. And again, I'm not saying that you need to be able to use fancy words and difficult phrases and all of that schmaz. You just need to have good communication skills where you're able to effectively get your point across to the other person, to the other side. And I feel like those you can work on, but you also sort of develop them with time. Because for me, I was good at communicating, but I didn't pay much attention to it. So if you go on my work profile, the first review, you'll see I did a good job for the lady. But then at the end, she left a review for me that said that Mahnoor just disappeared on me, and that's not what happened. But that was because of my mistake. That was because of my lack of communication, that I did not respond to her in time, and then that kind of translates into a bad experience to the client. So I feel like communication goes a long way. And so also, for example, when you're applying for a job, your cover letter, you just only have a few sentences to persuade the hiring manager or the client to hire you. So that goes a long way. And then other than that, I think negotiation really matters, because clients, they want to pay as little as they can to get their work done from you. So you need to be able to kind of negotiate and find that middle ground and get them to pay whatever you think your work is worth. So I feel like communication skills, negotiation, and then the normal ones that you would need in any part of your life. If it's time management, you should be able to manage all of your projects, deliver them on their due deadlines. And then also collaboration is important, because now if someone hires you as a freelancer, even then you'll most probably be expected to work in a team of other people who come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and everyone is obviously different. So you need to be able to get that teamwork in and be able to collaborate with them if you want to succeed in your freelancing career. So I'm just going to cut it there so we can get to the further questions.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Haroon? Anything that you would
as Mahnoor said, the absolute number one difference maker between a successful freelancer and someone who is struggling with freelancing, despite having probably better technical or niche skill set than their successful counterpart, is communication skills. Hands down, nothing comes close. For two otherwise identically skilled people, it's not even like it's a clean knockout. But even for someone who's far more skilled, someone who's considerably less skilled, but they know two things. They know, firstly, how to communicate well, and secondly, how to upskill, how to learn what they don't know. So yes, communication skills and knowing how to learn on the job. research skills, basically research and self-improvement, consistent ongoing self-improvement. It shouldn't take you half an hour to find the right resource. It should take you 30 seconds to find the right resource. Aapke Google skills itne on fleek hone chahiye.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think that's actually true for, I mean, anything anyone pursues, they should definitely look into like kind of refining their non-technical skills. But let's talk a little bit about how the ongoing pandemic is going to affect the freelance market now that so many people have moved their businesses online. So much work is like, it's remote work now. And I mean, the nature of just like work has changed completely. So, I mean, do you think that, in what ways do you think this is going to affect the freelance market? Do you think employers are maybe looking more at freelancers? People are maybe looking more to the freelance market for jobs? Well, what do you guys think?
So I think definitely more and more companies, when the entire world sort of went into lockdown, a lot of companies realized that, oh, we can get this work done from our employees from home, right? And that's when this realization hit them, you will immediately see that a lot of them, even after the lockdown is over, even when after the situation improves, they're gonna sort of move towards hiring more freelance managers, freelance accountants, anything, and freelancers. But basically, this was sort of a realization for a lot of those big companies that they can get a lot of their work done from freelancers. And also how it sort of works for them is that instead of having someone on as a permanent employee with a freelancer, you sort of hire them on a project basis or on a contract basis, and it works out for them because you don't need to give them all of those incentives like health insurance and transportation allowance. And basically companies are saving, and that's always their biggest goal. They just want to cut their costs, and this has helped them realize that they can cut their costs. So while this opens up a lot of opportunities in the freelance market, I feel like the competition is going to be even more insane now because a lot of people unfortunately have been laid off from their jobs, and that means they're also making their way to the freelance market. And so with more opportunities, there's definitely going to be fierce competition. And so I feel like the only thing that you need to do right now is find out ways that can help you stand out among that pool of applicants or that pool of candidates, because I'm going to be honest, the competition it's going to be tough. It's going to get tough. There are more opportunities, but you need to prove yourself. You need to prove your skills if you want to, make your way into the freelancing market.
Yeah, definitely. Haroon, do you agree? What do you think?
I completely agree, and Mahnoor is spot on, so I won't repeat what she just said. That would have been the first thing I would have said. So to save time, let me add a bit of macroeconomic impacts ki insight. So this is going to change the world as we know it. Once companies start hiring more and more freelancers, once they've realized that they can get a lot of work done by people working from home, so why have employees? And once people also employees start realizing that they don't need to live in an expensive city to work for an organization, our whole population demographics would change. People would move away from major cities back to their villages as long as they have internet access. So cities' populations are going to drop very drastically over the next few years, and the decline is going to be exponential. Shuru mein, the rate wouldn't be as much, but as more and more organizations realize this, it's going to be exponential. At a global, it's going to have environmental impacts because abhi concentration of way too much humans in one place, in small packets across the world, that's causing a lot of environmental damages, because jitne zyada humans ek jagah ho, unke waste, unke sari jo whatever they're doing, it becomes hard to manage. If we are evenly distributed across, or even not close to evenly, but at least not in the current state where the top 10 cities are like all way overpopulated than they need to be. So agar un tamam logon ko villages mein, towns mein, countryside mein aap distribute kare, there would be way less burden on the earth's resources. There would be way more efficient utilization of resources. People would be happier because they're spending more time closer to nature, and generally more and more communities would develop. those towns, those cities, those villages, they're going to prosper because अभी तो वहाँ के लोग जो शहर में रह रहे हैं वो गांव सिर्फ उतना खर्चा भेजते हैं जितना उनके गांव में रहने वाले जो भी रिलेटिव्स हैं उन्हें जरूरत है. लेकिन जब वो खुद वहाँ पे रह रहे होंगे तो they'd be investing more in quality of life over there. And more and more organizations would be interested in taking their business to such towns. So hill stations may, in beautiful picturesque spots, towns, bustling towns where gig economy workers are just, doing their thing, sitting on, at a cafe side, working on a laptop in a quaint town. We're going to see more and more of this. So overall, I mean, this pandemic itself, it's a tragedy for sure, but there is sort of something positive to expect from its impact on the economy in that regard.
Sorry, continue.
It's okay, no worries. So yeah, that was pretty much what I wanted to sum up about the macroeconomical and macro-social, if you will, impact of COVID-19 over not just the gig economy, but all of us in way more ways than we had initially imagined.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just going to say that's a very interesting perspective. I don't think like people actually see it like that, or like I think try and explore the, like you said, the macroeconomic side of it. So that's actually really interesting. But yeah, so we're going to take a few questions from the audience now. So what we'll do is we'll have one person answer one question, and then one person can move to the next. So we have a question from our Facebook live stream. Where should I start learning skills that I can use to freelance? So that's a really interesting question. You guys have spoken a bit about refining skills and then learning new ones from upskilling. So Haroon, you were talking about that, I think. So do you want to take this question?
Certainly. In terms of technical skills related to web development, design, content management systems, CRMs, enterprise software, even cloud technology, you simply cannot go wrong with lynda.com. Well, it used to be lynda.com. Now it's LinkedIn Learning. Ever since LinkedIn acquired Lynda, they've completely gotten rid of the Lynda brand now. So it's like $25 to $30 a month. If you get LinkedIn Premium, it comes with that. But the standalone subscription is, I think, between 25 to 30, depending on your period of subscription. And it gives you a vast array of courses designed by and created by some of the best of the best. So what's great about Lynda, unlike Udemy, on Udemy, anyone can just come up with a course and upload it on Udemy. They pretty much let anyone on the platform. You'll find great courses over there, but the one that you buy or the one that you invest your time in, even if it's a free course, might not be one of the good ones. And really bad ones even have major ratings over there because some people manipulate ratings, they buy fake ratings. Some people just get good ratings despite the course quality being subpar simply because those taking the course simply don't know any better. To them, it's like the holy grail. So on Lynda, they only source the best in the business. Like for every particular niche, they'd source the one of the authority figures on that niche in the world, not just in America, not just in Europe, in the world. And they'll get them. They'll pay them, obviously, an exorbitant amount of money to record the best course they can on the subject. So the quality is just, there's no comparison with most courses on Udemy. And cost iski dekhi jaye to it's like, how much is $30? $4,500 रुपए बनता है महीने का. आप अगर यहाँ किसी local computer academy basics का course करने जाए ना, तो वो इससे ज्यादा पैसे चार्ज करेंगे कंप्यूटर बेसिक्स का, जहां आपको विंडोज और वर्ड और एक्सेल ये चीजें सिखाई जाएंगी, वो इससे ज्यादा चार्ज करेंगे. सो गेट अ लिंक्डइन लर्निंग लिंडा मेंबरशिप एंड यू आर गुड टू गो फॉर a whole lot of tech skills. उसमें इवन आपको फ्रीलांसिंग पे भी कोर्सेज है on how to succeed on freelancing platforms. Other than that, आपके niche के specific जो भी authority figure है इंडस्ट्री का, अगर उसने कोई कोर्स available किया हुआ है तो you should go for that because people become authority figures in their niche for a reason. So yeah, that's my suggestion. Learn from the best. If you want to compete with the best, learn from the best.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think definitely with some of these online courses, they charge so much less than what one class in college would be. But we have a question specifically here from Mahnoor. This is from, again, our Facebook live stream. What happens if you take a gig, complete it, and then the client refuses to pay? How does one handle with such a problem?
Okay. So first of all, I think that this depends on what platform you're using. So for example, from Upwork, I know if, for example, if you are granted a job, if it's a client sets a milestone, they're supposed to fund it with escrow, right? So, but I mean, if this happens, you definitely, whatever platform you're using, you need to try and get them involved in the situation. And it's best to please communicate with your client within that platform, because that way you have proofs of communication that you had with the client. You can prove that whatever work they asked for, you delivered. You can prove that you know, whatever work was required, you delivered it. If you communicate outside of your platform with the client, so if you're using WhatsApp or Skype or anything, any communication that you had there will become invalid when you bring up this case with whatever, again, platform that you're working with. So for example, if it's Upwork, if you communicated with the client inside of Upwork, they will automatically have access to all of your conversations, all of the work that you submitted via Upwork. When you submit milestones, if there's proof that you have submitted work, they can access it. And so they are more likely to sort of, you know, vote in your favor. But if you make the mistake of taking your communication outside of the platform, it becomes less likely that you will be able to get that payment. And again, if you're on Upwork, please try and go for hourly projects. If you're able to score an hourly project, there's a whole work diary over there. It has it takes screenshots when you're working. It takes a count of the keystrokes that you make, and it makes sure that you're active and that you're working. And so if you are on an hourly project and the client refuses to pay, it's 100%, like if you did your work right, it's 100% gonna be in your favor, and then you're gonna get the payment released.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So I think we'll do one more question. Maybe you both can give your input here from our Facebook live stream. What are some of the most popular fields or tasks that people hire freelancers for? Question from Hashin. So Haroon, do you want to start?
Certainly. So anything that can be offered as a service as an individual is being offered as a service as an individual, and people are hiring for it. You name it, there's going to be a freelancer for it, and there's going to be a client who's hiring a freelancer for it. A friend of mine, he's like one of my bosom buddies, childhood friends. He's a cosmetic surgeon, and apart from his practice, he's been like, even while he was doing his specialization, he was consulting online on WebMD for US clients, and he was making pretty decent money back when most of our med students didn't know WebMD existed, or if it was something that they should seriously pursue. So back then he was doing really well on it. And so even fields like medicine, of course, in such fields, you have to prove that you're a licensed practitioner to offer medical advice to people from through such platforms, or in any way. Engineers, accountants, well, IT is the first thing that comes to mind, so I'm not talking about IT, I'm talking about other things. Apart from IT, content writing, design, you name it, chefs, people hire chefs for, like restaurants hire chefs as freelancers rather than employing them to get them to set up their initial menu, to train their in-house team, so that they don't have to keep on paying a celebrity chef for a very long time. They just get them to set everything up, and then their less experienced chefs would be able to just do the thing by recreating those recipes. So yeah, major organizations, industrial organizations, they might not need an engineer as a full-time employee for a particular project once that project is deployed. So they might have a freelancer on board that whenever they need something to be done, they bring them on board they bring them in as a consultant. So freelancing is basically consultancy, and consultancy has been around since before the term freelancer became cool. So yeah, you're an independent consultant, you're an independent contractor rather than an employee. Any and every field has them.
Definitely. Yeah. Manu, do you have anything to add to that?
So I feel like Haroon covered it all. Definitely, I agree with the points that he made. But I would also like to add, a lot of times this question and another related question that's asked is, what skill is going to make me the most money? You don't need to focus on what skill is going to make, like, I get that you want to make more money, but if you go on the skill index report for Upwork or anything, you're going to see such complicated stuff there. I've been freelancing for 7 years. I know that there's artificial intelligence and there's Python and there's this and that. These are all very technical things. And if I just say I'm going to do the number one skill that's going to make me the most money, I'm going to go after it. I don't know, it might take me 10, 15, 20 years and I still might not be able to perfect it. And just in the pursuit of making more money. So I feel like with freelancing, anything that you're good at, you'll get hired for it. If you're good at making sales, you'll get hired for it. If you're good at writing, if you're good at designing, if you're good at coding, programming, development, anything that you're good at, you're gonna be in demand. So forget about the market, or just consider yourself. If you're good at whatever you're doing, you're gonna be in demand for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good advice. I think that's like a good way to like kind of end our session now. We have got some, like, I think I learned a lot at least, so I'm hoping that whoever else who's like looking into getting into freelancing space, or people who are already within the freelancing space, maybe got some valuable lessons. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Umar, for referring me, and thank you, Amir and the Sada Pay team for having me for this webinar. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me as well. And yeah, looking forward to more collaborations in the future as well, because I really enjoy sharing whatever little I've learned over the years with the community as a way of passing the torch. So yeah, we should do such things more often.
Yeah, I was gonna say that hopefully, like in the future, maybe we can even collaborate again on a different topic, something, and we can see how that is. So yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Yes.